Hi and welcome to the very first episode of HPC in Azure, where you'll be joined with a series of experts in the field of HPC. And with me today for episode 1, we'll be running through a general overview of what you can do in Azure and how we've helped customers to actually go and achieve more. And with me today, I've got Yasir.
Hello, Kirk. How are you?
Good, thanks. And let's just go for it and see what we've been up to with our customers.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so before starting my presentation about talking about why Azure NetApp Files for HPC, so let me introduce myself. So I'm Yasir Halim, and I'm a cloud solution architect in NetApp dedicated to Azure NetApp Files.
Thanks, Yasir, and I'm Kirk Ryan. I'm the Principal Technologist of Azure NetApp Files based out of the UK. We've got some exciting things to go through today. I know you've been working on quite a few big accounts that heavy HPC. What have you got to share with the group today?
Okay, so what are the challenges of HPC workload in general and particularly in the cloud? So access to shared data with high speed. That's very important. And so with Azure NetApp Files, you have high performance, so high throughput and IUPS. Azure NetApp Files can offer over 250 K IUPS per volume, and it offers also 3 service levels: standard, premium, and ultra, with different performance levels. So you are guaranteed to have a high performance with Azure NetApp Files. The second one, retrieve information without disruption or delay. So with Azure NetApp Files, you have a sub-millisecond latency. Whatever is the workload, you have a sub-millisecond latency, and this is very important for HPC workloads. So you will have no disruption or delay in your simulations or in your access to your application or your files. Eliminates the movement of data sets between disparate systems. So with Azure NetApp Files, you eliminate completely the data, all the silos. You have one system, you have one shared file storage, which gives you better performance and easier management. You don't have to manage disparate systems, which would be quite uncomfortable. So you have one system to manage, shared between different compute nodes. Accelerate the speed at which applications can be deployed and simulations can be run. So, once again, thanks to the high performance, the high throughput, and high IUPS and low latency, the sub-millisecond latency of Azure NetApp Files, you will run your simulations and deploy your applications with a high speed and quite efficiently. So this one set up a high-performing environment for massive files number and very intensive applications. Once again, high performance is the word that is coming often when we talk about Azure NetApp Files. So with Azure NetApp Files, you will have a highly performing storage for your compute for your high performance computing workloads. Protect and recover data in case of hardware and software failures. So Azure NetApp Files provides you with advanced data management and protection capabilities, thanks to snapshots, clones, restores, crossing replication. So you have a set of features that will allow you to protect your data from any loss and from any crash that may happen.
And these are inbuilt, they're not extra. You don't pay any extra for them. They're not an extra license, right? They're just built into the service.
Exactly, yeah.
Brilliant.
So deploy your resources without waste and scale seamlessly when needed. This is very important because unlike the traditional storage systems, with Azure NetApp Files, there is no over-provisioning. Usually people, they they dimension or they size the storage based on the peaks they rarely reach. So there is a waste of resources and an over provisioning, and how to say, waste of money also in this case. So with Azure NetApp Files, you just provision what you need. So, and you have a dynamic sizing and dynamic service level change. So you will cope or you will match the capacity and the performance to your workload on the fly.
So another way of looking at it would be that you're only ever paying for what you need at any one time. So traditionally in storage, it's always been you try and set it to the most you need, but then that was okay when you weren't in the cloud because you weren't paying by the hour for it. But when you're in the cloud, you don't want to have any hours where you're paying for stuff that you're not using, right? So we're basically saying we fix that problem.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Cool.
So
Let's dive
now,
into a bit more detail then.
yeah. So here in this decision tree, in fact, we can see that the HPC world is a very large ecosystem. You can see that we have here local storage, block storage, we have file storage with network file system and parallel file system. So, and you can see in the bottom, so in case you need to use file storage, without Azure NetApp Files, we would end up using this managed or orchestrated parallel file systems, even for entry-level workloads, so medium or entry-level workloads, and this is obviously not profitable. So here comes Azure NetApp Files, and Azure NetApp Files fits with small to medium HPC workloads with low single-digit or double-digit gigabyte per second throughput. And so what we noticed in our customers, so typical deployments for HPC workloads we had are range from 500 to 5,000 compute nodes.
So 500 to 5,000 compute nodes, a typical deployment that we'll see, a real sweet spot where traditionally you'd have to deploy, quite a heavy infrastructure for something that right now you've now got another way of doing it that is very suitable and a much lower cost.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great use case we have with Repsol. So Repsol, they were struggling in having the performance required in the cloud with the various IaaS solutions. So for their simulations run with Schlumberger, Eclipse and Intersect software. So the performance was not there. The simulation runtime was awfully high with the IaaS with the IaaS solutions they were using. So they approached Microsoft and they asked them for a solution in Azure that would solve their problems and that would provide the right performance with low simulation runs and high throughput and low latency. And Azure NetApp Files was the lifesaver here. So Azure NetApp Files could, of course, provide far better performance than what the IaaS solutions were providing, and even better performance than what they had on premise.
Yeah, I remember this one. So this was a big win for early on for Azure NetApp Files, where
Yeah.
I remember Repsol and Juan actually saying, "Hey, listen, we don't think we can run this in Azure full stop, right? So take us through how we wowed them and how we proved them that synopsis wrong."
Exactly, and that's what you can see here. This chart here proves what we just said. So you can see here, this in this green chart. This one, this green curve here is the IaaS storage solution, and you can see that above 40 cores, the simulation runtime is skyrocketing, is awfully high. So that was not the proper solution. So here came Azure NetApp File here in the blue, and you can see that it is far better than the IaaS solution and even better than the on-premise solution, the solutions that are here. So, and then we can have a zoom here. You can see this here, the YAS solution. So above 40 is going to the sky, and here you have the on-prem solutions, and this is the Azure NetApp Files solution. So with Azure NetApp File, we help the customer to get the best of cloud storage in terms of performance and capacity.
That's brilliant. I mean,
And,
I
and
remember working on this one, and I remember Juan. We started the simulation, and he said we're going to start the testing. I need to drive home, and the traffic in Madrid's not brilliant, right? So anyway, he got back. He gave me a call, and he said, "I think it's broken," and I said, "Why?" He said, "I can't see the job." So we logged in. We had a look, and the job had completed. It completed the fastest it had ever completed in the company's history.
Exactly. Yeah. The simulation projects that were taking a month can now be done in a day with in Repsol.
It's phenomenal. And most of those decisions drive pretty critical business decisions as well. So there's a lot of money at stake here when Repsol's making a decision.
Exactly. So here is testimonial from Repsol, and you can see that the customer is saying that Azure NetApp Files provided a performance 5 times better than what they had on-prem. I'm not talking here about the YAS solution, but about on-prem, 5 times better than on-prem. So as I said earlier, so we help them get the best of performance and the best of capacity in the cloud.
It's just phenomenal, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
not only did we prove that we could easily match, and prove the thought process of the cloud's not a great place for HPC wrong, but we delivered massive value to say, well, we can do it faster than you can on-prem with the flexibility of totally flexible scale up, scale down pricing.
Exactly. Such a flexibility you don't have it on-prem. So with flexible and with the Azure NetApp File, you can scale your volumes. You can scale your capacity pools. You can change the service level in 2 clicks, and it's instantaneous. And then you get a much higher performance and capacity in the fly.
Yeah, and one thing I remember with this is not only because they knew when the jobs were coming, they could scale up in advance, complete the job much faster, return that value back to the business, and then afterwards was, the impact this had above, which was that they were paying less compute hours as well, because the compute they needed to drive all of this wasn't spending a day running anymore. It was only spending a few hours running. So there were significant compound savings to be had just by fixing this layer, the storage layer.
Yeah, exactly. And with Azure NetApp Files, there's one thing that is important is that the storage is not limited by the disk of the bandwidth, the bandwidth of the disk. It's limited by the bandwidth of the network, and which is much higher than the bandwidth of the disk. So with this, we can downsize the compute and reduce the price of the compute and reduce the whole TCO.
It's brilliant, isn't it? So basically, go faster for less price.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So let me summarize with the benefits of HPC for Azure Azure NetApp Files for HPC. First one, high performance. So with Azure NetApp Files, you can have bare metal performance in the cloud thanks to the high throughput and sub-millisecond latency offered by the solution. High availability. So you will experience no downtime thanks to the out-of-the-box high availability of 4 nines offered by and guaranteed by Azure NetApp Files. Scalability. So you can scale up on the fly when you need more capacity or more performance, and then scale down to save costs when you have lower performance and capacity requirements. Data resiliency. So your data will be always there when you need it, thanks to Azure NetApp Files advanced data protection capabilities. End-to-end security. So your data is highly secured at rest and in transit, thanks to encryption mechanism and thanks to the deployment in a delegated subnet that is not exposed to internet or to other Azure services. And finally, the ease of management. So you can manage Azure NetApp Files like any other Azure service through Microsoft Azure portal or through automation scripts, and you don't need to be a storage expert to provision it. So all your expertise in ONTAP, you don't need it here.
No,
So
not at all. Oh, brilliant. Okay.
and then if you need to know more about Azure NetApp Files, you can refer to Azure NetApp Files Microsoft documentation, and you can follow us on the ANF community. You have the very nice blogs there covering different subjects. So you can follow this community on this link, and you can also follow us on LinkedIn. We have an account, an ANF community in LinkedIn, so follow us to get the latest news of Azure NetApp Files.
That's right. LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as anfcommunity.com for all the latest updates that we have. And on that note, actually, so this, as we said, was episode 1. So we've got some great episodes coming up. We've got episode 2, which is covering oil and gas and what we do around the big sort of value prop and how we can help customers that are looking to do HPC in the oil and gas sectors. We've got another episode coming up around EDA, so electronic design. And that's really, you know, the heart of NetApp. That's where we actually came from. So a lot of people don't know that. NetApp was basically brought to market, and the first customers were big EDA houses themselves. Episode 4 is focusing on Cycle Cloud and much more in future. So thanks for joining us. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up and a share. And we look forward to bringing you more of these in future. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much.